Hi, it's Marika here again, my Creative Quilts. I've had a few people ask me what quilts are, how quilts are made and what they are, and how they differ from blankets. So I thought I would make a short video and show you. I'm just going to move the camera a little bit so you can see better the quilts. Quilting is a process. A blanket is one piece of fabric. Okay, you can get fleece blankets, wool blankets, whatever you want to get. But a quilt is a sandwich of three different layers. There is the top layer, the batting, and the bottom, the backing. So when you're putting the quilt top together, this is the quilt top, okay, and this is pieced. The pieces of fabric are sewn together and they're pieced. You can applique on them, you can embroider them, you can piece them. You can do a whole cloth quilt, which is one big, huge, one piece of fabric. It's not been sewn together, and the quilting is what makes the quilt. So that's the quilt top. You sew the quilt top together, you piece it, you applique it, whatever, okay? In the middle, you have your batting, okay? You can use a cotton batting, you can use wool, bamboo, a combination of cotton and polyester, or polyester. I tend to go towards either 100% cotton, or I also use 80-20, 80% cotton, 20% polyester. I do have wool batting that I use when I do wall hangings because it makes the quilting puffier and it makes it pop a little bit, but I generally stick with the cotton or the 80-20. Now this one's being hand quilted. Okay, so let's go back. This is a quilt top. Okay, it has not been quilted. Nothing has been done with it other than I sewed it together. Okay, so that's the back. You can see the seams, and that's the front. That's the quilt top. Okay, this is a quilt sandwich. It has the 3 layers. Okay, some people do quilt with thicker fabrics. They'll put a thicker fleece, or they'll do a t-shirt quilt or a denim quilt. Those they often don't put batting in because they're very heavy and they get quite thick, too thick to handle in some cases. There's debate as to whether you call a 2-layer thing a quilt or not. I call it a quilt. I don't really care. It's sewn together, it's attached together, it works. So this one is being hand quilted, and it'll take some time before it's done, but I sit on the couch in the living room and I literally stitch away by hand until it's going to be done. The quilting process, some people only make tops and then they send their quilts out to be quilted by a longarmer. I'm not a longarmer. I do longarm quilting, but I don't do it for other people. I just do it for myself. But there are quite a few quilters who made a business out of it, part-time and full-time. I'm not sure what the prices are, but sending your quilt out to someone else to quilt is good if you feel you can't quilt it, if you don't have the space to quilt it, or if you're in a rush, because long arm quilting is a lot faster than machine quilting and definitely a lot faster than hand quilting. Personally, I've never sent out a quilt for someone else to do. For me, that's part of the process. I enjoy all of the aspects of making quilt except for the basting, which I mentioned in another video. I like coming up with the pattern. I like putting the top together. I like sewing it. And for me, the pièce de résistance, what makes it for me is the quilting. I get to decide what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, and I can say I quilted it. But not everybody feels the same way. They either get the pleasure from the actual creation of the top, or they physically can't do the quilting. So it's really up to you how you do it. So like I said, these are hand quilts. This is my long arm machine, and I have a quilt on there right now. It's a wall hanging that I'm working on. And this is the wool batting I was talking about. So I have a layer of the cotton, and then I have a layer of the wool. And what that does is it really makes the quilting pop. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, there's a real difference in the levels. And then we have my machine quilt, my machine for machine quilting. And so a lot of my quilts are done with this machine as well. So that's just a very quick tutorial as to what quilts are, and I hope it's helpful.